Let's go straight into what has been happening, because this situation around former President Goodluck Jonathan and the crisis in Guinea Bissau has been one of the biggest conversations across West Africa this week. And as you are listening, please remember to like this video and subscribe, because stories like this are developing fast and you don't want to miss updates. So let's begin. When the election monitoring team, including former President Goodluck Jonathan, traveled to Guinea Bissau to observe the country's general elections, the expectation was simple. Go in, monitor the voting process, ensure fairness, and return home once the job was done. But what happened instead was far more dramatic. It became something that held international attention and raised questions about democracy, safety, and political stability in West Africa. The election day in Guinea-Bissau started normally. Voters came out in large numbers, hoping for a peaceful democratic process. Jonathan and the other observers moved around different polling units, checking the process, speaking with officials, and ensuring transparency. Everything looked calm on the surface. But behind the scenes, tensions were rising. Political actors were already preparing to declare victory even before official results were ready. Two major candidates began making claims, each saying the election was swinging in their favor. Now, in a place where the political climate is already delicate, that type of behavior can cause trouble. And that is exactly what happened. Before the results could even be announced, the military stepped in. They appeared on national television. They declared that they had taken control. They suspended the election process. They took over government institutions. And suddenly the whole country was thrown into confusion. At that point, Jonathan and other observers were still in the country. The borders were shut. The airports were under military control. And movement was very restricted. That was when news began to spread internationally that Jonathan was trapped in Guinea-Bissau during a coup situation. For many Nigerians, those first hours created real anxiety. People wanted to know where he was, how safe he was, and what steps were being taken to bring him back home. As this was unfolding, regional bodies like ECOWAS and the African Union reacted strongly. They condemned the action of the military. They demanded the restoration of democratic order. And they also communicated that election observers must be protected at all costs. But the problem was not just diplomatic. The observers were physically stuck in a country whose leadership had just been overthrown. And the new controllers were not very clear about their intentions. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. As negotiations were happening behind closed doors, former President Jonathan later described the situation in a very unique way. He said what happened in Guinea-Bissau did not look like a normal coup. According to him, a typical coup does not allow the sitting president to make calls, send messages, or speak freely. But in this case, the ousted President Umaro Sissoco Embalo was giving interviews and communicating publicly. Jonathan even used a phrase that caught a lot of attention. He said it looked like a ceremonial coup. That particular statement raised new questions. Was the takeover staged? Was it manipulated? Was it an internal power struggle? Was someone trying to stop the election results from being announced? Many political analysts, journalists, and observers have debated this. Some believe the coup was orchestrated by forces loyal to the former president. Others think the military acted independently. But what everyone agrees on is that the situation was unusual and not straightforward. During all this confusion, efforts to evacuate Jonathan intensified. Nigeria arranged for a flight to bring him home. But there were challenges with clearance. Landing rights are often complicated during a military takeover. But Côte d'Ivoire moved quickly and provided an aircraft that was able to secure permission faster. That was how Jonathan and his team were moved out safely. When he landed in Abuja, it brought relief to Nigerians who had been following the story closely. He thanked the governments that helped. He appreciated Nigerians for their concern, and he explained details of how the evacuation happened. Now, beyond Jonathan himself, this entire event has bigger meaning. It shows how fragile democracy still is in some parts of Africa. It shows that elections are still vulnerable to manipulation. It shows that even seasoned diplomats and observers can find themselves in unpredictable danger. And it also shows the importance of cooperation between African nations in times of crisis. As we look at Guinea-Bissau today, the country is still under tension. The political climate is uncertain. The people are uncertain about their democratic future, and the international community is watching closely. One thing that becomes clear from all of this is that stability must be strengthened in West Africa. There have been too many disruptions across the region in recent years, from Mali to Burkina Faso, Niger, and now Guinea-Bissau. And each one adds more pressure on regional organizations trying to maintain peace. While explaining all this, I want you listening right now to please like this video and subscribe, because stories like this are deep, they are important, and they affect us as citizens of this region. And updates will continue to come. Another angle to this story is the role of election observers. Many people now ask, should observers take extra precautions? Should security protocols be improved? Should missions like these wait until political climates are more stable? These are serious questions, because observers are meant to protect democracy, not end up in danger while trying to support it. At the same time, the situation teaches us something else. Communication matters. The fact that Jonathan was able to speak after his return helped calm many nerves, and it also allowed people to understand the nature of the situation better. His emphasis on the unusual nature of the event sparked even more interest, because it shows that sometimes what we see is not as simple as it appears. Even now, political analysts are studying the actions of the military, the behavior of the ousted president, and the reaction from international bodies to understand what really happened behind the scenes. Power struggles in some countries often involve multiple interests, and this situation looks like one of those cases. As I continue this gist, please remember again to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the continuation, because I am breaking this story down in a way that is clear, professional, and easy to follow.